It's close. Hello, and welcome to another Call to Work webinar. It is a lovely Friday afternoon, so thank you for everyone for joining. Everybody that's watching back on YouTube, good to see you as well. Call to Work on YouTube, so please like, follow, and subscribe, and leave comments there as well, and share this content because I'm very excited. It should be great, all about presentations, getting a message out there, and we've got a couple of amazing speakers that are going to go through that today. I'm going to let them introduce themselves and going to crack on straight with the content first. So, John, straight over to you. Do you want to introduce yourself, please, sir?
Sure. Howdy there. I just wrote this in the chat. I feel like I'm not going to be reading anything, but I will tell you, I am John Burkhart. I'm called a firecracker speaker, presentation coach, and marketing consultant. I will explain the firecracker thing. I think you call it fireworks. I am not from around here. I've been in London for 25 years and Memphis, Tennessee, beyond that. And I want to basically find out what your story is and help you tell it in a more interesting and provocative way. And I rudely have to pop out because I'm in a client's office, so I'm going to miss 5 minutes of Bryan's epic talk, but he's told me to miss a certain bit. So he's going to be amazing as well. Over to you, Bryan.
Hello, I'm Bryan Elder. So how would I explain myself? Well, I probably would say I'm a mic-wielding QA ninja with a penchant for Post-its. Another term I'd use is certified chaos controller for code and classroom alike. So I love to mix things up a bit. I'll go into a bit more detail. My actual background is breaking software and then teaching people how to. I've been in the UK now 18 years, originally from South Africa. So I get both firecracker and fireworks. So yeah, I'll start sharing my screen and I'll go straight into my talk. Lovely meeting you guys.
Great, let's go for it.
Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. Right, so speak now, regret later. So public speaking, whether you're online or in person, is what I'm going to give you that's worked for me. I'm not going to steal John's thunder. It sounds like he's an amazing speaker as well, but hopefully I'll bring a slightly different spin. So the usual PowerPoint blurb, we have an agenda, intro, who am I, developing a signature style, engaging with the audience, and mastering delivery techniques, and hopefully creating a lasting impression. And last but not least, there's always a Q&A. But please feel free to stop and interject if you've got any questions, you want to know anything further, want to clarify. I prefer engaging through rather than a Q&A at the end. So as I said, I'm a mic-wielding QA. I've been breaking software now for well over a decade. I've been training people now for probably close to 2.5 decades in various industries. I left high school, ended up in catering, and part of my role was doing the training. And then I came to the UK, role was training and running restaurants. So I've run restaurants, hospitals, contract catering units, and then moved across to software testing with a brief stint in HR, risk and governance, actuarial in between all of that, and stuck in software testing. And then over the years, I've been involved in training within the companies I go into. So I'm a freelance software tester. I go in, I consult, I do testing as well. I like to keep up to date with everything. And then within that, I do training for companies, as well as training events, testing atelier. I was there last year. This year as well, I was invited back to speak. I've been at Ministry of Testing and quite a few other places like that. So that is me in a nutshell. So when we come to public speaking, there are 3 areas that I like to look at. Is what makes you unique? You know, what is your unique gift, your unique personality, your unique background that you can bring to the table? So what experiences do you have? So as I've said, I'm a consultant, I'm a coach. I also have an apprentice that I'm coaching through software testing apprenticeship as well. I mentor software testers in various organizations. I have a apprentice that I'm mentoring as well. My other apprentice finished this year, has just finished her apprenticeship and has passed with flying colors. So that's great. And now I'm on the next one. So what can I bring? So what can you do differently? So when you think about your uniqueness in public speaking, what can you do differently? So I love to do in face-to-face situations. I love to do something out of the ordinary. So last year I did a talk on exploratory testing at a testing event in Leeds, and I brought a case of Coke, and we were talking on exploratory testing. Part of my talk involved me taking a can of Coke out, hadn't been opened, and throwing it around the room and getting engagement from the room while this can was flying around the room, asking questions, going through my talk. And it came back to me and I continued shaking it vigorously. There is a trick that you can use to stop it from exploding when you open it. I didn't tell the audience that, and the front row were waiting with bated breath or anticipation or fear, more likely, that when I opened that can of Coke, that they'd be showered in Coke. So, but however, when I opened it, they got a completely different reaction. So what can you do differently? This year, I did a similar talk at the same event, and they asked me not to throw a Coke can around. So I took it a step further and said, well, you haven't asked me to throw a Coke can around. You haven't said anything about sweets. So I just did something very different, because part of what I need to talk about can be very dry. Testing, being a test evangelist, driving quality. A lot of companies don't want to test because it costs money. The return on investment's not very easily to identify. So I need to bring a very different spin to it. Now, once you've got your unique position, and you've defined that, what can you bring to the table? You need to stand out. So as I've said, so I now, whenever these people see me, you're the Coke can guy, you the sweet throwing guy, or whatever the talk is, they leave with something unique about me. But they also take it, and they've taken what's been applied. Pitch. Well, I could stand here and talk to you like this, but it wouldn't be very engaging. If you have a monotone, it will put listeners to sleep. Dynamic pitch and emphasis, pause, pace. Speaking too fast can overwhelm, while too slow can bore. However, saying that, I'm aware, having got lots of American friends and been to American conferences where they speak very, very fast. And again, culture comes into that. South Africa, if you're in certain parts, they will speak incredibly fast, and other parts will speak slow. So vary your pitch to your audience. Read your audience. And if possible, pause for impact. 5 key techniques. So the 5 key techniques, I've already mentioned one: pitch, pause, projection. You need to speak with clarity and volume so everyone can hear you. Sometimes you'll be blessed with sound systems, other times you won't, and there will be times where the sound system stops working. But try and project your volume without shouting. It also shows confidence and authority. Passion. If you love what you do, that enthusiasm will come across. Genuinely care about your topic, and your audience is more likely to care too. So how do you develop your signature style? Well, practice. Go to small events, find and refine your natural speaking voice. Some people I've seen speak, when they're on the stage, they have a completely different voice to when you speak to them personally. Find your stage voice, but don't be artificial. Be natural with your hands. I naturally use my hands when I'm on a stage. I will actually walk up and down, and I'll use my hands to animate. I will look at different people in the audience to engage them. Use humor. If you're doing online presentations, like I said, my background can be very dry. So I tend to inject humor in the form of memes or jokes or funny videos. Use humor to enhance what you're talking about. So personal storytelling, that is very, very, very important. So I already told you about the example of throwing a Coke can around or sweets in an event. Use your experiences. Tell a story. Stories engage on a personal level rather than, I just did some testing, we had a successful delivery, whatnot. Find a story. Tell the stories that are relevant to it. And as I've said there, humor. Sometimes humor can't be necessarily brought in depending on the topic. especially if you're in a corporate environment and you're delivering a corporate message or something like that. But wherever possible, use humor to come into your conversation and your presentation. So how do you engage with the audience? Well, like I said, I tend to walk around the stage. I tend to use eye contact, body language. I don't close myself off like this. I tend to keep my arms open, keep everything open so that people looking at you can see that you're open to questioning, you're open to what you're doing. How do you guys feel if you're in a presentation and somebody's got their arms crossed? How does it make you feel as an audience? Any thoughts?
It's a bit frustrating, right?
It's frustrating, yeah. Do you feel valued?
No.
Any other thoughts?
What are they hiding or not sharing with the group?
What are they hiding? What are they not sharing with the group? What if they're always looking down?
Yeah,
If
shy.
they're always shy, yeah. What else? You know, if they're averting eye contact, it could be the same reason why they got their arms crossed.
Yeah,
So,
not confident.
not confident, yeah. And to be fair, when you start doing public speaking, you have to force yourself to look at the audience. If you're doing an online talk like this, look at the camera. Try and look around where the people, you know, wherever you've got your screen, like we've got on Zoom, wherever those videos are up, have a look at it. Look around. Engage with questions. So what about somebody standing behind a lectern? If they've got a lectern in front of them and they constantly stand behind that, what do you think? Is it the same as crossing your arms? So some people will stand behind a lectern because it's their safe barrier. It becomes a barrier between them and the audience. So where possible, try and get out from behind the lectern. Have your notes with you, but don't read from your notes. Engage with the audience. Don't just be one of the people that just says, you know, I'm doing a talk and this and this and this and this and this. Engage. Practice in the mirror. Get your wife or your friends to listen to you before you do it. Even practice with a video camera or the audio and then listen to yourself. Now, remember, every room is different. So encouraging audience participation can be difficult sometimes. And you need to adapt because every room is different. Adapt to the room. So when I go into a room full of developers, it's a very different room to testers. But if I go into a room full of managers, as opposed to the guys on the ground, the developers and the testers, it's a very different vibe. And if I've got a broad spectrum of people, I need to make sure that I engage with the audience without causing offense. Now, we have to be very careful with what we say these days because things can be taken out of context. So if you're not sure if it's going to be contradictory or cause offense, bounce it off of somebody and make sure that you're not causing that offense. Now, how do you stay dynamic and relevant? How would you, as a person, stay dynamic and relevant?
I'll say find what's not allowed to you.
Yeah. So reading articles, reading the newspaper, reading what's going on, stay up to date and make sure that when you're speaking, it's relevant to the audience. And you know, because in my industry, AI has become the latest buzzword. So a lot of what I need to do is present how AI can be used in my industry. How can we advance using AI? So we need to stay relevant. Delivery techniques. So I've already said some of this, and I want to re-emphasize it. Whatever you do, please don't be monotone. I have been in talks where I've seen people on the stage or in a boardroom, and they've had a single tone. and to try and get them to change tone was nigh on impossible. If you are monotone, it will lose the audience. It saps their energy. Emphasize, pause. If you want to make a significant emphasis, make the point, change your pitch, change your tone, and then pause. Like I said, use them strategically, but also be mindful of gestures and movement to reinforce messages, because gestures that we think might be okay in the Western culture will not necessarily be okay in the Eastern culture. So we need to be mindful of any culture references that our actions do. Now, when you are done with your presentation, towards the end with a strong call or action to take away. Develop your signature closing. So I have different closings depending on what workshop I'm in, depending on who my audience is. But one of the biggest takeaway, one of the biggest signature closing I have is I drive quality so that you can focus on building your business. Something that is unique to you, something that says what you do in a story. That's usually my line when I'm closing software testing or driving the need for software testing. Now, as I said there, use humor. You can use memes as long as they are not offensive and culturally inappropriate. Leave the audience thinking of spark curiosity and reflection. Very, very important. Don't just leave the audience with everything. You want to leave them asking more. You want to leave them coming back to you. So leave them with a question. So my question to you today, when are you doing your first presentation call? When are you doing your first talk in front of an audience? Commit now. We are here to hold each other accountable and encourage each other. When are you going to do your first call by? Put a date in and work towards that. Whether it's on here, whether it's in a meetup group in your local city, commit now. I've been doing a lot of these in corporate behind doors, and somebody challenged me to do exactly what I'm doing now to you, to step up and take my knowledge out. Every one of you has a unique selling proposition, has a unique perspective on your industry. When are you bringing that unique perspective to your audience and to the world? So commit now. Put some dates in the chat. Or should I say that by the end of the year, every single one of you online here will do at least one talk? Can you guys commit to that? Can I get a thumbs up if you can commit? The biggest thing about overcoming your fear is taking that first step and committing. Then find the audience to deliver it to. And last but not least, that is my V-card scan. The QR code is safe. A lot of QR codes I wouldn't trust, but that is one I've created. It is safe. And then last but not least, we have time for some questions.
That's amazing, Bryan. Thanks a lot for that. I think it's, like, as you say, you're coming at it from a interesting angle. You're taking what could be described as maybe topics that aren't as exciting and making that exciting. How would you, like, other people may be like going, oh, okay, but how can I relate that to your own personal work? How do you think about that?
So that's a good question. How would I relate to each industry? I would take my unique selling position. I would take the unique experiences and see how I can, so what are the pain points that I've had along the way? What are the lessons I've had to learn along the way that I feel would be useful and beneficial to others? And use that as a starting point to deliver and find the gaps, find your niche to deliver that information back. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, great. Wow, and it's great to see in the chat as well. Lots of first-time speakers coming up. That's amazing. Chibuzo's first talk. That's really cool. Chris is talking. Eunice won't be your first, but talking. Hey, this is great. Right. Again, as Bryan said, the more of this you do, the easier it becomes. It's like swinging a golf club. All right, or maybe not easier if it's me. Okay, Brian, we'll pass it on to our next speaker if that's okay. John, if you're with us, we'll
Perfect.
pass it on to you, and we'll get your slides. And again, any questions for Brian, I'm sure he'll be sticking around at the end, or we can just pop them in the chat and keep popping them in the chat. So, John, over to you. Yeah.
And action. Hello, hello. I'm back. Can you hear me all right? Very good.
Yep. Yep.
Nice. By the way, that is not the greatest way to start a speech, but you got to get the tech right, or you might as well not exist. Amazing. So what I would like to do is do my best to follow on from Bryan. There were some overlap stuff, but as a guy who works in the world of real-time social media, I'm going to explain kind of a little bit of my history in a second. But yeah, I have, while Bryan was talking, have gone and redone my slides because I don't want you to hear something twice, because there's a lot of amazing stuff that Bryan covered. So thank you for that. So I'm going to go on and share my screen. Let's see here. And do my best to share, and then go here. And let's see, you are sharing, great. Okay. And then go full screen. Okay. So one of the things I'm going to start with is I can't remember. I had to pop out for 5 minutes to speak to a client, so I cannot remember if Bryan said this, but I want you guys, if you're ever doing a virtual presentation like what I'm doing, even if you've been moved while Bryan was talking to another conference room, I want you to make sure that you don't speak, and this is going to be painful for some of you, so I hope you're okay with this. But this right here, I'm right on the Golden Gate Bridge here. James, can you guess whether I'm standing or whether I'm sitting? What do you think, James? Or anyone? Standing or sitting?
Sitting.
Sitting. Okay. Nope.
Standing.
Absolutely not. When you sit, you're a lot of us are basically violating personal space, because I would only be like this close to my wife. So the trick thing is that most people get wrong is you actually are a better speaker virtually if you're standing, and if you're in this middle distance, where ideally, look, watch what I can do with the Golden Gate. Sadly, the reason I have Golden Gate, I'm breaking my one cardinal rule, which is no fake backgrounds. The only reason I'm having to is because I'm at a client's office and they've got confidential stuff on the walls. Sometimes you have to roll, but just on I can't remember if Bryan shared any of this, but I'm just trying to think off the top of my head some of the things he may not have mentioned. But one of the crucial things in setting up is to stand up, to go the middle distance, and ideally I need to see almost your torso. Like I've got my client's badge on. That's how hectic today's been. But this is a comfortable distance where I can be very Italian with my hands, because I talk with my hands. So that's just a little setup so I could talk to you while I actually on the fly get my speaking situation in my client's office set up. So first off, I've already mentioned briefly who I am, but what I want to add to that, and to also build on top of what Bryan said, is I want to basically show you how to be a firecracker. Now, what is a firecracker? Bryan thankfully said, okay, John, I'm okay with that word, because I'm from South Africa as well. So yes, a firework, or a firecracker as we Americans call it. Essentially, you have a little spark, and then sometimes it just takes off, but it's very hard to ignore. I hope that I can drop at least 3 things that'll help you be hard to forget. And Bryan mentioned several things around memes and humor that I was just like saying, like a Southern Baptist preacher, preach it, Bryan, preach it, amen. Because I love disarming people every minute, ideally, but definitely every 2 to 3 minutes, and pulling the rug. And again, one of the things that that James had mentioned is also, if you're doing a virtual presentation, like stop sharing the screen and then you go big, and then you can get, if you're going to tell a story, you can go big and tell an emotional story, because I'm not sharing the screen now. I can talk to you about that one story where I actually had someone in my life go out of the way to help me be a better speaker. And they did it when I was 6 years old. So I've known that I was going to be using my curiosity since I was 6 years old. It's very tricky when you're speaking on camera here, because I want to go back to where I can actually see myself, and then I'll share screen. But I'm going to start off with a story. The reason I am a firecracker speaker, and the reason I am energetic, and I've spoken in 26 different countries, and it all goes back to when I was 6 years old, and it all goes back to being bullied. So I was bullied by this girl that was 8 years older, no, 2 years older than me, and she was called my sister. Basically, I found a way to get her to stop bullying me. She was 8, I was 6, and I said, why don't we go ride bikes? And we decided to start riding bikes around the neighborhood of Memphis, Tennessee. And then I said, when she was bored of that and wanted to come back to keeping bullying me, I said, I've got a new idea. Why don't we knock on everyone's door in the neighborhood and ask if we can ride bikes in their driveway? And she was like, oh, this is great. Because where I happened to live, there were long driveways in houses. And that would just open up our real estate of where we could ride our bikes. It probably, on average, triple the amount of real estate we could cover on our bikes if everyone opened up their driveways. So we knocked on doors, knock. And people were kind of, even though this was like the early 80s, people were kind of like, these kids, well, yeah, sure, what the heck. No one, believe it or not, said no. They all said yes. But that they're not the people who have inspired me to use my curiosity, because we went next door to our next door neighbors who've had to deal with us being loud and playing basketball. And we knocked on Tim and Alice's door, and they didn't say yes. They said, absolutely, but wait, this is a big job. This is a big job that you shouldn't take lightly. You need to be thinking about whether you're willing to patrol our driveway, because we have squirrels. Squirrels run across at all hours of the day and night. I mean, like, this is a job. We actually need you to be the protectors. In fact, this is such a big job, we need to pay you. We need to pay you every Saturday for a week's work of patrolling with ice cream. How does that sound? And we were like high-fiving all summer. My sister was so excited about our new role, she forgot to bully me, and I'm now 50-something, and she has not bullied me since, because her curiosity was captured, my curiosity was captured, and I started thinking, how can I turn even mundane things into a game? If something is slightly interesting or dishwater dull, is there a way I can up that by turning it into a game, using my curiosity, asking questions, just like Tim and Alice upped the game and turned it into a job, payable every week by ice cream. Now I'm going to get back to my my actual presentation. I just wanted to emote there. Thank you, James, for allowing me to go back and forth. But that's when you're doing virtual, it is literally the best way. So very quickly, back in the room. So for me, I worked in marketing. I've been in this country for 25 years as a copywriter. Then I got obsessed with social media, coined a term called newsjacking, which basically, again, used my curiosity from my being 6 years old. And I was like, well, wait a second, this Twitter thing, people are like saying what they had for lunch, but what if a brand could come to life? And I, in my mind then, back in 2008, before brands were doing this, I went and, again, knocked on doors. It wasn't Tim and Alice this time, it was brands, but guess what? I was selective. I knocked on every brand's door that I could think of that had a, wait for it, mascot. And I said, I want to bring your mascot to life on this newfangled, it's called social media platform called Twitter. And a lot of them, like Tim and Alice, said, yes, we'll pay you in ice cream. And I hate to admit it, no, they actually decided to pay us in money as well. But I will say, having been one of the oldest of old schools in the world of social media marketing, we're just now getting the respect we need. And as Bryan mentions, the meme situation. Not only is it great as a speaker to mention memes, it's really great if you can be working with brands and create memes. That has been my sort of challenge and where I've had some success in creating memes. And some of it goes back, again, traces back to some of my origin stories, some of the things that make me me. I think even Bryan used the word dynamism. One of the reasons why I'm a writer and speaker is because I was obsessed with words. There was this American thing where you could get on national television. It's a sports channel, ESPN. They hold a spelling bee, and I was 2 away from being on the national spelling bee because I was obsessed with words as a 10, 11, and 12-year-old. But again, who would have known, fast forward that I could, again, take storytelling, but also up the energy levels for a brand like Red Bull. We were allowed in 2003 to fly airplanes through massive cones on the Thames. And again, this was just from my curiosity. And these were the building blocks to being a keynote speaker. I was not a keynote speaker until my book came out in 2013. So this was easily 10 years prior, but some of the things I've learned from my life as a creative in marketing companies and advertising agencies definitely has pumped into my career now as a keynote speaker, as a speaker coach, and as a continuing to be marketing consultant. Sometimes my book has led to people saying, oh, John, we got this. Don't worry, man, we got this. We want to keep our fans dry, England fans, as they travel pub to pub when England loses yet another Euros or World Cup. But again, there was design flaws in this pointy cape thing, and it became something you don't want to repeat. And again, then those bad things happen when people say, I love this newsjacking thing, let me try it, John. And then sometimes you're there and you see something and you're just like, this, when coming up with creative ideas and being curious in the moment happens in real time, it's stuff like this. So what you just saw there, and apologies to all Brazilians on the call or watching it on the YouTube channel, but that was created when a World Cup match was still on in 2014. Brazil was playing host, and Germany was beating them 6-1. And this was shot, and this is firecracker storytelling to a T, which I'm gonna unpack the tenets of that in a bit. But this kind of thing confirmed, my book had already been out for a year, but it confirmed that I just want to keep going. The brands don't have to have a mascot, but what they have to do is be willing for me to do real-time storytelling. So I think where I possibly differ a little bit from Bryan is I am obsessed with helping you be a teller of real-time stories, meaning that I want to help you have a presentation, a lot of the amazing things Bryan said, but I want you to change it up in real time. And I also often help speakers create content during conferences after conferences before, and I capture the zeitgeist of what everyone's talking about and give you a real-time storytelling point of view. And it all stems back to writing one of the first books on real-time social media. And I actually want to make you a real-time firecracker. So if you want to be scripted, that is great. I can help you with that. But I will always pepper in real-time examples, and I'm going to connect with you emotionally again. Apologies. I'm going to stop sharing if I'm allowed, and I'm going to tell you the story of the biscuit lady. It's tricky because my screen. I've got to find a way to click OK.
I was going to say we allow you to do it, so hopefully your technology does.
No, it's just because you never can find your cursor with the Mac. So I'm going to go. I don't want to stop sharing. I think Mac should someday figure out this. Okay. Okay, it looks like I'm not. I literally don't have my cursor. It happens a lot. Okay, cool. So we're gonna forget that. I'm gonna keep going and not connect with you, and I'll save that story for when I am able to. But again, the 3 stages in helping you be a firecracker storytelling. First is called constant curiosity. And yes, I want you to be that annoying toddler that asks 240.
I've turned your slides off, by the way, John. So your slides are not being shared.
Oh, you were able to do that. Oh, you amazing person. Wow, James, thank you.
Carry on.
Okay, cool. So can I, okay, oh, you're a legend. I didn't know you had that power.
When you want to start sharing them again, let me know, because I'll grant the access again, okay?
Okay, amazing. Oh, James, thank you. So, okay, so cool. So I can tell you the story of the biscuit lady. So this is a person exactly like you, because Bryan's already kind of canvassed the whole room and found out that some of you are going to be doing your first talks coming up, et cetera, et cetera. So this woman gets very nervous, and she and I have a relationship in the fact that she's a new business coach, and I help her with speaking as a bartering thing, and she helps me with new business. And she was speaking to a group of 100 agency leaders. And I said, I'm not sure about this. She told me some of her ideas. And I just asked a load of questions. And I was like, who's going to be in the room? What's the setup? And as it turned out, what she thought wasn't true. And then she called me when she was at the event. So some of this real-time coaching, it fires me up to no end, but I have to convince my clients that I will help you. I've been there before. I've done it in 26 countries. If you could just settle your nerves, I am on the end of the phone. I've helped people when they were walking on stage in 1 minute and had to deal with a change and given them exactly what they need to do. So here's the scenario. 100 agency leaders. She had no idea that she wasn't going to have her private room. She was talking to them about a research report that she'd just done. As it turned out, it was a breakout session where you could choose. Half the people of the 100 people could choose one side of the big hall. The other half could choose the other. And my friend, I wanted to make sure that as many people came to her side of the room as possible. But keep in mind, we didn't know this till she got there on the day. I had already coached her with, wait a second, you're going to be talking about your report, which is about helping clients and agencies get along better. Why don't we go back to your first stories when you were doing this new biz role? Are there any things that happened? She told me about when she started out in Islington with this company. And the thing, I said, what were you curious about? Was there anything really memorable about your client when you were there doing new biz? One of the clients that you helped the agency win? And she said, well, weirdly, they're the first and only agency I've ever been at that memorized every client's biscuit order. So they literally were the agency that absolutely nailed the request of the biscuit before any meetings when the clients come all the way to your office for a meeting. And I said, there's something here. We unpacked this biscuit story. As it turns out, I convinced her to buy the favorite biscuits back from 20 years ago when she was starting out, as well as a couple of what I would call crowd-pleasing biscuits. And then she got to the venue in the cab, panicked about the fact that it was a breakout with 2 different rooms, and called me and said, I'm going to open all the biscuits and I'm going to put them on a tray. And she described the room, and I said, no, everyone's standing. You're a short lady. That is not going to work. You need to balance the biscuits on the whiteboard and ask people their favorite biscuits and then chuck them at them. And Bryan was talking about Coke cans throwing away. This really energized the audience. And what I want us all to learn from this is there's got to be ways where you can disarm the prevailing notion of a room, a notion of agency leaders talking about a research report that is ripe for chucking things. I don't want you to Google me, because you'll find out that I have had people throwing, at first, hard rubber balls at me, ideally at the screen, but I didn't want to break the TV or the massive screen, to vote on social media ideas, real-time stories that they either loved or hated, and vote, technically called voting with their balls. And that the hard rubber balls knocked me out once when I had a particularly lively crowd, so I moved to stress balls. But while people do call me the ballsy guy, and the name of my company can be, if you want it to be, truly ballsy content, I think that what I want you to take on a storytelling level is you need to do whatever it takes to re-energize. And again, starting with a story is really crucial, but mastering your way to interact. What is the interaction that you're going to try? And is there any way that if that's not working, you have an improv ability, or if I'm on speed dial, you can call me in tears and say, I don't think this is going to work. They're all standing, and have me coach you to say, don't open the biscuits, chuck the huge packets of biscuits at people's heads. And that absolutely worked. And she was literally called the biscuit lady. And still, as she's now going around agencies and brands with a research report, she is still continuing to be called that little tiny lady with a very fierce left fastball when it comes to chucking biscuits. James. Bryan's not in charge of this. James, do you mind going back to my screen?
All participants can now host.
Cool. So I can do it myself. Amazing.
Yes, hopefully.
Let's do it. Yeah, look at this. Amazing.
You're good.
Okay, cool.
Just need to go in slide presentation mode, and then you're good.
Yeah, we'll do. I'm just checking. Okay. Here we go. There it is. Okay, so now we've got to get to my triple S storytelling, which is the key tenet in being a firecracker, is starting with a spark, just like a firecracker starts with a spark. I helped the biscuit lady become the biscuit lady, where she became a character when everyone else knew her as a new biz coach. But there was a load of agency people, and she'd been in different roles, and people were like, where have you been? Your last agency role was 10 years ago. She didn't have a persona. She certainly didn't have a presentation or a memorable persona in her speaking, other than maybe if you call stuttering and your whole neck turning red being a persona. That's not necessarily a persona you need, but it weirdly gave her the confidence of being the biscuit lady, and she's not of the disposition or even personality to throw things at you. I just want to warn you, she is behaving out of her skin, and I hate to admit it, and this will shock you, but sometimes in the world of business and creativity and marketing, where I work a lot, your presentation self needs to be a little bit, if not a lot, elevated from your normal self. I've had speaker coach friends of mine who say, John, I cannot do this my wife cannot be in the same house with me when I'm in my home office, because she's like, you're not even being yourself. You're being this animated character, and it's really annoying. Wait, it's not annoying, because people who don't know you from Adam want to be energized, and your tone, how fast you speak, your pregnant pauses, all of that is when people are starting to fade from you, they will come back to you. And again, you have to set up biscuit lady, got it. New biz, oh wow, what is she going to do next? Can't hardly even see her, but I will sure never forget her. In fact, I think the audience weirdly sort of created a fan-like shape where everyone had the vantage point of being able to see her, because they respected her stage persona, and they were like, everyone needs to see this lady. I want you guys on this call, and anyone watching on YouTube, to have that, where I ain't gonna have a way in this room, whether it's virtual or real, 1,000 people in a basketball stadium in Estonia or wherever you are, where people want to see me. I think there's even like a story comes to mind with a guy in a tree. I'm trying to remember who that was. So again, what we had with Biscuit Lady is a struggle, and Bryan has mentioned this, and again, any kind of, whether you're presenting, people also need to know in the stories you tell, in your persona, that you're not perfect. You're not just bragging. I mean, I just told you a bullying story that's actually really quite painful. I didn't go too deep on that for a reason I'm going to tell you in a second, but you definitely saw a struggle in my story of trying to get my sister to use her aggressive energy in a positive way that led to weekly ice cream and a great, great job. And again, one of the things, being a guy who's cut his teeth in social media and become a presentation coach after 10 years of keynote speaking, is my ability to find a surprising way for you to win. Biscuit Lady is now in her arsenal a surprising way for her to win. And again, everything I'm telling you about the spark, the struggle, and the surprise applies to the way you present, as well as to the content and the stories you tell. And again, let me give you an example of 2 professional keynote speakers that are friends of mine from America. One's called Ann Hanley, the other's called Drew Davis. But one of the ways I have been able to impress upon other speakers, whether they're professionals or people just starting out, is being able to create content for you while you're on stage, on basically owning your Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn feeds while you're on stage, and being able to find what's entertaining and inspiring and talk you through an ability to get what we used to call, when Twitter was the only thing we used, tweetable moments, or Instagram-worthy quotes, or a LinkedIn nugget. That one of the things that I really relish in doing, because of my training in social media, is making sure that this happens. Like this, at my conference that I'm on the board of in Texas called South by Southwest, when someone is looking down at their phone and typing, and you do not need to think that they're distracted about making a grocery list. They are so compelled by what you're saying on stage that they are live tweeting it. And that, I want people to be compelled to take a picture of you and your slide, you and your slide, not just your slide. And also, I want them to put stuff out in real time. And I hate to admit it, and this is hard for some people to stomach, but when someone asks for my presentation in advance, I automatically say no, because I change it up in real time, but also follow it up by guess what? My presentation is me. Those are just slides to support my argument. I am the presentation. I want forever from this moment forward for you to think, that crazy American guy said, I'm not going to send my slides. I'm a nightmare for organizers, but it's well worth it. But also, I want you to really commit. If you actually commit to half of what Bryan said about your vocal delivery, about the what and how you said it, you will also realize that you are the presentation, not your slides. And again, what I've had to do is I create Venn diagrams in real time before they even walk off the stage, even though they're pros, and that has been very helpful for people before they give a talk, for me to say, these are the tweetable things. I can do it for you, or you can get your team to do it, but these are the things that people are going to remember, and I want to bake in that. In the interest of time, I want to kind of cover that the reason this is the way it is because everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. I was punched in the face today. I've got to run and go off to a meeting in a sec, but I was punched in the face because a meeting ran long and I can't get home, and I'm having to stand in the second conference room in my client's office to give this. But again, a lot of as a real-time storytelling or presenting coach, a lot of it is I can only help you because I've had every mishap happen to me on the planet. And if it's happened to me, then I'm going to make it seem like, oh gosh, John, you were really quick on your feet there. Sometimes I am, sometimes it's just because I've seen it before. And again, social media made y'all way too comfortable with disrespecting people and not getting punched in the face for it. Well, my thing is, Mike Tyson, is that I want all of us to be worthy of people saying nice things on social media about us, not getting punched in the face. And again, I would have to be slack if I wasn't ending a talk talking about drugs in your brain. And those drugs are the ones that make us feel empathy towards characters. I'm hoping you felt empathy towards me, even though I've had to talk faster than normal due to the time constraints. But I want you to feel empathy towards your audience. I want you to feel like you're adding value to them. I also want there to be some pain that you share where people are like, oh my, oh, they're a real human being. They're not just sort of there for their own ego. And again, that final thing, I want you to sort of end with some surprises. And I'm going to skip these, sorry, for the interest of time, because I've got a meeting here, and I'm going to go straight to an emotional story. And I'll share some of these slides if I feel they're appropriate. I want you to know that one of the greatest things that was ever shared with me is get your what right. What are you trying to say to me? I'm trying to say, be a better storyteller, allow yourself to be scripted at first, but then allow yourself to live with the moment and allow the powers of improv to take over. And I want people to care about you. You got to get them to say, so what? What should I do? Should I hire this guy to help me be a better speaker and to run my social media? And then always leave them with a call to action. Now, what am I going to do about this? You know, Bryan asked you, are you going to do a speech in the next few months? I need to know now, commit to it now. He had a call to action, get that speech in the diary, and we can help. And again, the what, the so what, the now what. And I'm gonna end on a video. Sadly, guys, we didn't have time to cover a lot, but it's all worth it. I'm going to end on this.
Turn it off, Rob. Turn it off. Sonny, please. Sonny, what the fuck are you doing? Forget about the shoes. Forget about the money. You're going to make enough money. It's not going to matter. Money can buy you almost anything. It can't buy you immortality. That you have to earn. I'm going to look you in the eyes, and I'm going to tell you the future. You were cut from your high school basketball team. You willed your way to the NBA. You're going to win championships. It's an American story, and that's why Americans are going to love it. People are going to build you up. God, are they going to? Because when you're great and new, we love you. Man, we'll build you into something that doesn't even exist. You're going to change the fucking world. But you know what? Once they've built you as high as they possibly can, they're going to tear you back down. It's the most predictable pattern. We build you into something that doesn't exist, and that means you have to try to be that thing all day, every day. That's how it works. And we do it again and again and again. And I'm going to tell you the truth. You're going to be attacked, betrayed, exposed, and humiliated. And you'll survive that. A lot of people can climb that mountain. It's the way down that breaks them. Because that's the moment when you are truly alone. And what will you do then? Can you summon the will to fight on through all the pain and rise again? Who are you, Michael? That will be the defining question of your life. And I think you already know the answer. That's why we're all here. A shoe is just a shoe until somebody steps into it. Then it has meaning. The rest of us just want a chance to touch that greatness. And we need you in these shoes, not so you have meaning in your life, but so that we have meaning in ours. Everyone at this table will be forgotten as soon as our time here is up. Except for you. You're going to be remembered forever. Because some things are eternal.
I'm not sharing right now. I just want to end with a little call to action on that. I think regardless of whether you're having a pitch meeting because you've got a new idea, or you're just having an internal meeting because you've got some employees that aren't happy and you need to sort out some issues, I actually think there's a way to tell a provocative story to get people on your side and to create change. I would like to say that we all have something inside of us that we have a story that is coming out and needs to be told. I would also like to say we all have a higher purpose, but I actually think it's a huge honor to own a room and to get people to feel something. But keep in mind, all of us who work in the world of business, we're getting people to feel something so then they can actually do something. And I think it's our commitment to be better at telling stories with lots of planning and also better ready to turn on a dime to represent ourselves in real time on social media and to really, really motivate and inspire. And I thank James for allowing me this tiny little slot to just express 1/57th of the passion that I have for helping people own a room, own a stage, or just find a way to stand out and make a difference. Over to you, James.
I've got nothing to add to that, and we're on time. John, incredible. Bryan, incredible. Can't wait to see, you know, the fruits you're planting here with some of these other presenters. So please let us know when you guys are presenting. We can come and check you out and be cheering you from the peanut gallery. It's been great, guys. Have a great, wonderful West of Friday and great weekend, and we'll speak to you soon.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.